A lot of financial experts talk about saving like it's a game of extremes. Cut out everything, stop spending, and sacrifice until you reach some magic number they claim is best for you. But here's the truth. Extreme frugality can actually backfire. Smart saving isn't about restriction, it's about strategy. If you've ever tried to save by cutting out everything fun, you probably know how this goes. You start off strong, meal prepping every meal, skipping your favorite coffee, saying no to nights out, and maybe for a while it works. But after a few weeks, it starts to feel exhausting. You're tired of missing out. Maybe you check your savings account and the progress of increasing your savings is much slower than you'd hoped. And you start thinking, what's the point of saving if I can't even enjoy my life? Then you snap, you splurge, you abandon your savings goal, and suddenly you feel like you failed at saving money. Does that sound familiar? That's because this method of savings does not work. It's not that saving money is the problem, it's how we've been taught to think about it. Saving money shouldn't feel like a punishment. It should feel like progress. And today, I'm showing you how to build your savings the smart way, without stress, without burnout, and without sacrificing the life you enjoy. Hey everyone, I'm Rose Colburn, and I'm here to help you take control of your personal finances so that you create a life you can truly love. I keep financial freedom real, attainable, and BS free because no one should feel like wealth is out of reach. If you're tired of financial advice that sounds good but doesn't actually work in real life, then you're in the right place. One of the biggest mistakes people make with saving is thinking it's all about cutting back on everything. Saving money isn't about restriction. It's about intention. When you shift your mindset from, I can't spend money, to, I'm making smart choices with my money, everything changes. Think about it. If your savings plan makes you feel miserable, how long are you actually going to stick with it? Personally, I used to think saving money meant giving up everything extra. No takeout, no fun, just storing a lot of cash in a bank account. And you know what happened? I hated it. I felt deprived, and eventually I gave up and I splurged, undoing all the progress that I'd made. But once I changed my approach, once I started saving with intention and purpose instead of restriction, that's when things actually turned around. The key is finding a balance between building your financial security and enjoying life. Because if saving money feels impossible to maintain, it's not your discipline that's the issue. It's the strategy that you're using. So instead of focusing on what you can't spend, let's talk about what you're actually saving for. In the next part of this video, I'm going to walk you through 3 smart saving strategies that will completely change how you think about building your savings. When most people think about savings, they picture it as one big pile of money sitting in a bank account, waiting for it to be used for something. But that's where a lot of people get stuck. Because when you lump all your savings together, it's hard to know how much is enough, what the money is actually for, and when it's okay to spend it. I've also seen some creators who add all their money to one account and then use a spreadsheet to track how much of that big account needs to be allocated to different goals and different purposes. But honestly, unless you like working with spreadsheets and constantly staying on top of stuff like that, that can be a lot of work. And that's why instead of thinking about savings as one big number, the best way to manage your savings is to break it down into 3 distinct savings categories so that every dollar has a clear purpose and you always know exactly how much you need. So let's talk about these 3 categories. The first is what I call your freedom fund. This is what most people think of when they hear emergency fund. But honestly, it's so much more than that. Your freedom fund covers not only unexpected expenses like car repairs and medical bills or a broken appliance, but it also gives you the power to say yes to opportunities. It protects you from financial emergencies, so you don't have to rely on credit cards or loans. It gives you breathing room, so you're not constantly stressing about money, and it allows you to make bold moves in life, like quitting a toxic job, taking a dream opportunity, or making a big life change without feeling trapped. Once you've started building your Freedom Fund, the next category is your purposeful savings. This is where you can set aside money for planned expenses so you're never caught off guard when those predictable costs come up. You've probably heard other people call this a sinking fund, but I call it purposeful savings because every dollar here has a purpose, a specific job to do. Your purposeful savings is where you set aside money for the expenses you know are coming. These could be things like annual car registration, holiday gifts, insurance premiums, medical and dental deductibles, prescriptions that you already pay for, or even back to school shopping. To keep things organized, you'll want a simple way to track what each dollar is allocated for, whether that's a dedicated app on your phone or a budgeting app or just a list in your planner. It doesn't have to be complicated, but having a clear system ensures you always know what the money is to be used for and when you'll need it. So finally, let's talk about your future goals fund. And this is where you save for the things that truly matter the most to you, whether it's a down payment on a house, starting a business, taking a dream vacation, or even just upgrading your car. This fund is all about intentionally putting money towards your long-term goals. Now, here's the key to making this work. Instead of feeling like your savings are just one big unclear pot of money, this system gives you clarity and confidence because when you separate your savings like this, you always know exactly how much you need in each category. You never have to feel guilty about using your savings because you've planned for it, and you can save with purpose instead of just hoarding money without any direction. So now that you know the 3 key savings categories, the next question is, well, how much money do you actually need to save in each one? Do you need to have a massive freedom fund? How do you balance short-term needs with long-term goals? And the good news is there's a simple framework to help you figure out the right savings target for your situation. First, let's bust one of the biggest myths in personal finance, and that's the idea that you must have a set amount in your savings before you can do anything else with your money. You've probably heard advice like, you must have 6 months of expenses saved before you can invest, or you must have 1,000 or even 10,000 in your emergency fund. But the truth is, the amount that you need to save depends entirely on your financial situation and your goals, not some magic number that someone else decided was the perfect idea. Instead of overcomplicating it, I created my lifestyle budgeting framework, which breaks down your financial situation into 3 stages: survival, growth, and freedom building. Each stage has a different goal, and the key is to focus on the one that fits your current financial situation. If you're in survival stage, your priority is getting a small buffer in place as quickly as possible. The goal here is to be prepared for unexpected expenses that could otherwise throw you into financial chaos. And here's an easy way to determine your first savings target. Think back to the last time that you had an emergency that left you scrambling for money. Maybe it was a $500 car repair or a $1,000 medical bill. Something that you weren't prepared for that caused you a lot of stress. Without a financial buffer, these situations often lead to credit card debt, payday loans, or even high-interest quick loans just to stay afloat. But when you have the savings set aside for emergencies, you're no longer forced to make decisions out of desperation. Now, I get it. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, even saving a simple $500 to $1,000 might sound impossible, but the key here isn't to stress about the number or reaching it overnight. Instead, start small. Set a goal to save 10, 20, or even $50 every paycheck and build from there. The most important thing is that you start, because even a small freedom fund can help make a difference in your financial stability. And once you've moved from the survival stage to the growth stage, your focus shifts to building a true safety net, which is typically 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in your freedom fund. Now, here's where a lot of people get stuck. They hear 6 months of expenses and they immediately think that's a ton of money, and it is, or they think it's impossible. And yes, if you try to save it all at once, it does sound overwhelming. But here's the trick. you don't have to do it all at once. Start by aiming for even 1 month's worth of essential expenses, then work your way up to 3, then 6. It's a step-by-step process, not something you have to accomplish overnight. And if you're wondering what counts as essential expenses, think of it like this. If you lost your income today, what are the minimum bills you need to survive? Rent or mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, maybe some vital prescriptions that you rely on. The things that keep your life running. Not Netflix, not the gym membership, just the essentials. But here's something most people never talk about. Your Freedom Fund isn't just for emergencies. It's also for opportunities. This is where your money starts working for you. Because when you have savings set aside, you're not just protecting yourself from financial setbacks, you're also putting yourself in a position to say yes to life-changing opportunities. So in addition to covering your essential expenses, start setting aside extra money in your Freedom Fund for opportunities. Even if it's just a small amount each month, think of it as your opportunity money that gives you the flexibility to jump on something amazing when it comes your way. Maybe it's a career move that requires relocation, or a business opportunity that needs an upfront investment, or even something simple like an incredible travel deal, or a once-in-a-lifetime event like your favorite teenage band going on their farewell tour with a stop that's actually close enough for you to go to. If you don't have extra savings set aside, these opportunities pass you by. But when you do, you get to choose. You're no longer stuck in the cycle of, I wish I could afford it, but I can't. This is what sets the Freedom Fund apart from a typical emergency fund. You're not just saving for survival, you're saving for possibility. And the best part? You don't need to overthink how much to set aside for this. Even starting with an extra 25 to 50 bucks a month for opportunity money adds up over time, and it gives you the freedom to make empowered choices. Because financial security isn't just about avoiding the worst case scenarios. It's about creating your best case future. Now, in the growth stage, you also want to start putting money into what I call purposeful savings. Setting aside money for those planned expenses like car maintenance, holiday shopping, or medical bills. A good rule of thumb here is to take your expected yearly expenses for these things and divide it by 12 and save that amount each month. Also, I recommend adding 10 to 20% for a buffer to cover any unexpected increases or last-minute expenses. Life happens, prices go up, plans change, and having that extra cushion means that you won't have to dip into your Freedom Fund or rely on credit when something costs more than expected. For example, let's say that you estimate your yearly expenses for car registration, insurance, and say holiday gifts will be at $1,800 in total. So dividing that by 12 means that you would set aside $150 per month to cover those costs. And as an added buffer, you save an extra $15 to $30 a month, which brings your totals to about $165 to $180. That way, when the time comes to pay those bills, the money is already sitting there waiting for you. No stress, no scrambling, just confidence that your finances are handled. And finally, we move into the freedom building stage. And this is where your focus shifts from just maintaining financial stability to actively building wealth. At this point, your Freedom Fund is solid, your purposeful savings is covering planned expenses, and now you're looking at your future goals fund, the money you're saving for bigger picture financial goals. So how much should you save here? Well, this depends entirely on your goals. If you're saving for the down payment for a house, a new car, or starting a business, the amount will be different for each person. The key is to set a clear goal and a timeline so you can break it down into manageable savings targets. For example, if you need to save, say, $10,000 in 5 years, it's about $167 per month. If you want to save $5,000 in 2 years, it's about $208 per month. You can adjust based on what fits your budget, but the key is to start putting money aside now, even if it's just a small amount. And here's the most important thing to remember. Your savings goals will change over time. Life happens. Maybe you get a raise and you can save more. Maybe you hit an unexpected expense and need to pause for a while. That's okay. The goal isn't to have perfect savings plan in place. It's to have a flexible strategy that grows with you. So here's your first step. Decide where you are right now in your financial journey. Are you in the survival stage, where you're living paycheck to paycheck and just struggling to cover unexpected expenses? Are you in the growth stage, where you have some financial breathing room and you're working on building your freedom fund and securing your financial future? Or are you in the freedom building stage, where you're focusing on maximizing your savings, growing your investments, and positioning yourself for long-term growth? Once you know where you stand, set a realistic savings goal for where you are and start adding the money towards that appropriate fund for whatever goal it is you're working on. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to be something you can commit to doing today. You don't have to save for every goal at once. Prioritize what's important right now and adjust your contributions as your income and priorities change. Even if you can only start small, what matters is that you're starting now and setting money aside with intention instead of letting your goals stay on the back burner. And now that you have a clear plan for your 3 savings funds, the next big question is, should you focus more on saving, investing, or paying off debt? If you're not sure what your next financial moves should be, watch this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.